Hello and welcome back to the Give and Go. I'm your co-host Reynoso here with my boy
Soltero. What's up, guys?
Smoking that America pack, bro. That's what I'm getting ready for. I'm getting ready to dust up some good old American herb.
Yeah.
Chivas has made it to the semifinals of the Liga MX, dude. Let me say it one more time, man. Chivas have defeated Atlas in the Clasico Tapatío and advanced forward to the semifinals of Liga MX, where we will have not one, but two star-studded rivalries, with Chivas facing off against América and Tigres facing off against Monterrey in El Clasico Regio. What an amazing semifinal matchup, and I believe that we are here today to discuss the build-up to these two games, to discuss how these teams got here, and our overall thoughts as to who we think is going to win these matches, and what we see happening in Liga MX, which has just delivered on an absolute massive scale so far this playoff season.
100%. And I guess let's go ahead and start with your beautiful Chivas facing off against Club América. I'm just going to say this right now as quickly as I can and as simply as I can as well. I really only see América winning this time, and it has nothing to do with you. I want to make that very clear. It's not going to be personal.
Sometimes it feels like it does, bro.
Sometimes it does.
Because you literally went for Atlas in this matchup.
Right.
And you chose him. No. Hold that shit back.
I'll hold it
Hold
back.
that shit back, man.
Yeah.
Where we saw... I'll get into my shit in a second. All I'm saying is I was a little hurt that you went with Atlas, and now we're seeing this shit over again, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because in that second leg, Chivas against Atlas, I was very clearly myself going for Atlas, and I was like, this is kind of because Reynoso is going for Chivas. Like, I even told myself, I was like, I don't know why I'm going so hard for Atlas right now.
Man.
But I was really rooting for them in that second leg.
Yeah.
But to bring it back,
Sure.
I really did think Atlas would win the whole time. Dude, honestly, it was 1-1 on aggregate. Each team only scoring a single goal at their respective homes. It was incredibly tight. And I thought it was going to be. Even though Atlas were, 8th, 9th seed going into this playoff quarterfinal, I thought they had found really good form. Julio Furch and Julian Quiñones were finally back at their old selves, just combining, scoring really goals, being as lethal as they can. And then, of course, you have Osiel Herrera, who I thought honestly did really well, constantly penetrating. So, yes, I definitely did have a bias against Chivas, but overall, more so, I actually did think that Atlas were going to go through. And, bro, they almost did. Let's be completely honest. They almost did. But Jimenez made some incredible saves. Briseño constantly having his hip, his back on both Quiñones and Furch, like almost what it looked like at the same time. Had an incredible performance, and Atlas got a little unlucky. Osiel Herrera could have been a little bit more clinical with his chance in the last couple minutes. Julio Furch hits the fucking post.
Goal line clearance in the first half, bro.
Yes.
This could have been a 2-0 game. That would have been done by then.
And so, honestly, and I mean this, as your friend, as your brother, I did think Atlas were going to win despite any sort of bias I may have against Guadalajara. But they did it. They were able to dig deep. Their defensive display, I thought, was phenomenal because...
Never seen something like that.
Dude, realistically, Quiñones couldn't find space. He was
at the second leg?
Right.
Because I didn't see that,
that's
man,
what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
Briseño and Sepúlveda were phenomenal at the back. But then you had Alan Mozo. That was the best game I've ever seen him play. That was the best. Like, his handles were weirdly good.
Yes.
Like, he rarely lost the ball. Only thing I thought was he could have been a little bit better on the final pass. Yeah. But his penetration, his defensive work rate was phenomenal. And then you had still players like Alexis Vega constantly going. He ended up getting the assist off that corner kick. So Chivas definitely deserved it. But what a tight game, man. What a tight fixture.
As tight as it could get. Look, I'm not here to act like Chivas weren't on the ropes, man, throughout most of this game. It got to a point, I believe around the 60th minute before we got that goal, where I was truly, truly concerned as to how are we going to generate a goal-scoring opportunity, because for as good as Chivas was defensively, up until that corner kick goal, Atlas was doing very, very well about limiting us to just a few chances that weren't truly that clear, outside of the potential goal that we almost scored in the first half, where Brizuela laid it off to Alexis Vega and he just couldn't get his foot on it to push it into the back of the net. Outside of that, we didn't have anything else going for us in this do or die match. So my fear was on 10. And that's credit to Atlas for how well they did defensively and how much of a threat a guy like Julio Furch is in a big game like that. Yeah. And likewise, bro, I mean, even though I didn't see him much in this match, Quiñones is terrifying to play against, dude. The way he's been playing this entire season, even up until that final minute where he was gone most of the game, but then was able to send a beautiful flicked ball over to Oziel Herrera, who then got a good shot on it as well, but had it saved by Aguacho Jimenez. Even in that specific millisecond of a moment, he was able to pop up out of nowhere and show his prowess and talent. That's how scary and talented that guy is, and playing against him was an absolute nightmare. But on the flip side, I thought Chivas did everything correctly in this second leg. The atmosphere was incredible. Good to see El Estadio Akron actually get filled up like that, man, because Chivas fans, I think one thing I got to harp on them for is that we're very bandwagon-like. When the team is good, we show up and we support them at a very passionate level. But when we're bad, man, that stadium's empty, dude. Yeah. Empty. Yeah. But luckily, because we're having such a good season, because this team has such a good energy, the stadium was rocking, man. Rocking. I haven't heard it that loud in a couple years, dude. And I think Atlas felt that a little bit with overall the energy that Chivas was able to put out, something that we mentioned a few days ago. I think it came into play in this match. And I think that truly it was that energy that ended up generating that goal-scoring opportunity for us off of that corner kick. And it was that energy that kept us alive in those final dying moments, because by that point, man, we're praying to La Virgen de Maria. We're praying to our gods. We're praying to whoever we have, man, because to see the ball hit the post, to see El Guacho Jimenez make two massive saves, to see all these insane clearances and eventually just bunker in and hope for the best, really puts you to test, man. And Chivas ultimately passed it. So credit to them. A few guys that I want to highlight in the journey of this match. Fernando El Nene Beltran. Dude, what a massive player on this game, dude. What a game. One of the best ones I've seen from him. Honestly, man, watching him reminds me a little bit of like a bootleg Modric. He's small. He's tiny, but he somehow finds a way to get involved in nearly every single offensive opportunity, and every now and then he'll get a really important steal, a really good interception, and push the ball forward. But he's always there, man. He's always lurking, and he's got very good IQ. He's good on the ball, and he generated a good amount of opportunities throughout both of these legs. And I just thought overall he showed his class and what he's capable of when he's playing at a very high level. Likewise, you already mentioned 3 of 4 defenders with Alan Mozo, Briseño, who I thought had one of the best games in his career. Good. If he could keep this level up, he's a different player. But unfortunately, we know that that's not possible. And then Sepúlveda, who even went on to score the game-winning goal. Massive, massive game. But for me, I thought Chiquete Orozco was massive, dude. Incredible. Non-stop, just physicality, non-stop confidence in that back line to just keep it locked in at 0. I was so surprised by the performance that he put in overall. And then you put the cherry on top with Aguacho Jimenez playing at such a high level, the way I've been praising him recently, living up to that expectation and saving Chivas at the end of the day. Paunovic is a genius. He's emulating that same energy that Matias Almeida, who just won the Greek League, by the way, is emulating as well. And I see Chivas feeling really, really good into the semifinal against America, and Chivas fans overall just happy to see a team just represent that Mexican pride, represent a team that's just full of life, full of confidence, and looking to do something special in Liga MX, man. And so now we have an incredible matchup, one that I've been wanting to see for a very long time, man. A good Chivas squad against a very powerful America team in the semifinal.
Yeah, that right-hand side that eventually formed a triangle with Beltran. Mozo, Brizuela, and Beltran, I thought were so good against Atlas. But Brizuela specifically too, man, because that combination with the midfield and also Gonzalez too, there was so much fluidity going forward for Chivas. Truly, and I was actually incredibly impressed with the pace that Chivas were setting. The game itself was just so end-to-end, back and forth, and no team could really craft a clear chance because there was always some sort of response. And that's what was so fun about this game is there was such good football, but it was always met with really good defending.
Yeah.
But what ended up getting Atlas was, that corner kick and a really bad mistake from Atlas. When you really look at how they conceded that, leaving Sepúlveda wide open at the back. Good for Sepúlveda to put it through, but Atlas made one big mistake in that game, and it cost them as Chivas were the higher seed and they go through 1-1. But to kind of just go back, little fun topic about the Estadio Akron. This was the first time that I've seen this stadium as loud as it got against Atlas, man. The thing is, I don't really watch Chivas that much, and again, it's just my bias against them, but this was as loud as I've ever seen the stadium, man.
But I would say
it was
the
rocking.
Tigres final in 2017.
Yeah.
Lit.
I don't fully remember it, to be honest, but okay, I take your word for it.
Comparable to finals atmosphere than what you're saying.
Yes, that's essentially what I'm getting at, dude, because the atmosphere was crazy. But not only that, dude, I really like the cauldron-like design of the stadium. And it got me thinking as I was just enjoying the vibes of the game. I would say, and see if you agree with me here, maybe you have a take too. I feel like the Estadio Akron, when it's like this, when it's just completely rocking, I get the most European vibes out of it. It felt like a game where it's like Real Betis or like in a really big Copa del Rey game, or like they're hosting Real Madrid. Or it felt like definitely just not Liga MX. Yeah. It just feels different. Like almost like it's a coliseum, and it's just like gladiators out there, and you just have high rises of this cauldron-like shape of the stadium, and it's really awesome to see. And then we know when they pan in closer to the fans, it's pure passion. Yeah. Dude, it's the fan base of Chivas, when they're really on it, dude, they're almost like crying out there, just and they're happy, like they're just really singing, man. Like,
I'm losing my mind.
It's crazy the atmosphere and the passion that those fans are really able to create. So yeah, man, like the Estadio Akron, pretty cool stadium, and I really enjoyed it.
Man, damn, that's a hell of a take that you got boiling there, man.
Yeah, because like, look, like compare
thinking about it.
Compared to like Tigres Stadium. Tigres Stadium is really cool and it's really rocking, but it's old. Yeah, it's pretty old. Monterrey is really cool because it's like the newest stadium probably in Liga MX. But I don't know. There's still something in comparison to Chivas where Chivas seems just more just about football. Yeah. Whereas Monterrey seems a little bit more laid back, I'm going to be honest, just for the most part. And then you compare it to Estadio Azteca. Well, that's just a bit different because that stadium's so enormous. I don't know if you can really compare it, but
it's so Mexican, man. Like
Azteca. Yeah, the Azteca. And then literally any other Liga MX stadium, Toluca Stadium, Puebla Stadium, León Stadium in Guanajuato, Tijuana, those are all incredibly Mexican. And they're all somewhat small in stature in comparison, only having like usually around 20 to 25,000. Yeah. And so for me, the Akron just really stands out, but it has to be full. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I think I can piggyback on that. I can get on that train of thought because I'll say this. I do feel like it's the most, I say outside of El Azteca, once it's properly fixed up and everything, I do think, what I put above a million? I do think it's the most World Cup ready stadium for 2026.
Yeah.
Because it looks, for me, very fitting for a World Cup match.
100%.
Germans against Portuguese folks, or I don't know, Israelis, whoever gets in, man. Whoever gets there, I can see that stadium being a very good venue and being a great like quarterfinal, maybe even semifinal place to go and play at for the next World Cup. So I will give you that. And at the end of the day, I just wish it would be consistently filled up the way I saw it this past weekend, because the atmosphere and passion that these fans have is just incredible. And it's nice to see the team be rewarded with that by the season that they've had in the build up to that game. Just to speak on that game finally, or just to add a few final notes to that game, dude, I really was losing my mind in the last 5 minutes, dude.
Last 5 minutes were insane.
The last 5 minutes were insane. Reminiscent of probably Mexico's appearance in the World Cup this past time around. Like emotions-wise, the way that I got nervous, the way that I got anxious, it's just not very easily comparable, because I had it all on the line there for a second, man. And this passion, this love that I have for this team just comes out in a different way, man. And this matchup just really brought it out. Clasico Tapatío, Atlas being such a stern opponent, really, really tested me. Tested the Chivas fans that watched us, because I was talking to a few on Instagram. and really just leaves you feeling fucking high by the end of that match. And it took me like a good 30 minutes to just settle down and kind of capture myself and, recapture my soul that left my body during those last final minutes, especially when that ball hit the post, man. I couldn't believe it.
You could see it in the players, too, for Chivas, especially. Dude, that back line, Alan Musa was pumping his fist when he would do a ball clearance, man. It was crazy. And then towards the end, when there was an offsides call that Chivas had pulled, Briseño puts his fist in the air and screams like he just scored a goal. And he just forced an offside. Yeah. But he was just like, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for, boys.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting them the dub, and then the dub that they needed. But yeah, dude, incredibly emotional match, I think, for fans and players.
Yeah.
And even Paunovic, man. Yes. Dude, he was going wild on that sideline. Never seen him like that. Yeah. Never.
Usually a very quiet and calm guy. Yeah. So good to see him show that love. I mean, that's what the Liguilla brings out, man. These insane results, insane matches, insane passion. And let's flip on over to America San Luis, which also saw some classic Liguilla chaos happen with Atlético San Luis finding a way to get back into this tie and potentially making it past America. Dude. Your thoughts?
So going into the second leg, I was still going Atlético San Luis just because, a little Atlético affiliation. But not only that, I do like their players. I think Dorado's a pretty fun central midfielder. And then their front three, Bonatini, Murillo, and Vitinho, I think are electric. And when they're on it, probably one of the more fun offenses just to watch in Liga MX. So I was like, you know what? It's a 2-goal deficit. They need 3 to realistically go through. And I was like, let's just get 1 before the half. That's all I was asking for, right? Come halftime, it's 2-0. But it was exactly what I had wanted and exactly what I knew that they could do, because I didn't trust Atlético San Luis's defense, especially based off of that first leg. But I knew that they could score goals, if anything else. So once that second goal went in right before halftime, I was like, let's go. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. One more, boys.
One more.
Get one more. Really make America sweat. But, bro, the first 5 minutes, that second half, Vitinho was jogging. Yeah. And I could see it. I could tell. I was like, oh, dude, he's gassed. My boy is gassed. Bonatini, same thing. Murillo was trying, but I could tell he just couldn't reach his max speed that he usually does. And that's the problem, man. Both Murillo and Vitinho, especially for as good as they are, completely rely on their pace to be a maximum threat. As soon as that pace is gone, the defense can kind of rest and just see it through. And that's exactly what happened for America, because they really didn't need to worry about the wings anymore. They just had to take care of Bonatini, who has no pace to begin with, and just make sure that you don't let any midfield creation happen for Atletico. And that's exactly what happened. They eventually ended up getting a goal America themselves, but at that point, Atletico were not going to get that third goal.
The way that they got gassed in that second half defined the outcome and their opportunities, because they didn't have a single opportunity in that second half.
Nah.
They couldn't generate anything. And if you looked at every single America chance that they had, they all came from the middle. They all came from almost a counter-like perspective where it was like 3-on-4 or 5-on-4 and 3-on-2, because they would just dispossess the midfielders and just go. Yeah. And eventually that was going to land. That was going to end in a goal. And credit to San Luis's goalkeeper, who kept it as even as he could for as long as he could, man. Made some really impressive saves, in my opinion, but then ultimately got outdone by a rebound goal by Brian Rodriguez, the sub. So it is what it is, 2-1 at that point. But a goofy little takeaway I had was Cabecita Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Nickname Cabecita, bro. Have you seen the head on this fucking guy? Have you really looked at it, bro?
Right. I mean, I can picture the head right now, but like, have I really looked at it? No.
Let's analyze Cabecita Rodriguez's head. Give me screen share right here, producer Rudd. Cabecita Rodriguez.
So it makes sense.
I think that the existence of this guy's nickname is like a Hall of Fame nickname. Okay. I think this is a Hall of Fame nickname for Liga MX and for Mexicans all around the world. Jonathan Rodriguez, to be named Cabecita Rodriguez, it's low-key an insult. But just look at this dude's head, man. Bro, he looks like a Minecraft character, bro.
Yeah, it's like really blocky, but it's also like really long in both dimensions.
Yes, bro. Yeah, equally as long in width as it is in height.
Exactly.
And that's not something you see every day.
No.
It's just Cabecita Rodriguez, man.
Yeah.
Keep it still for me for a second. right there. Kind of looks like a little bit of a Shaqiri type of build, if you could.
That's
say,
perfect.
Which is he's also often referred to as a blocky figure.
Yeah.
But that's a Hall of Fame nickname, man.
Yeah.
Cabecita Rodriguez, because oftentimes you'll see nicknames based off of certain features, like oreja. You see oreja, or el peludo, or el barbón, or there's just so many nicknames based off of specific features. Maybe you're fat, gordo, right?
El polaco.
El polaco.
Polish, he's white as hell.
El cepillo. Yeah. It's Peralta. But with Jonathan Rodriguez, he was assigned the full responsibility of being nicknamed as not just a feature or a trait or an item, but an entire fucking head. An entire fucking head. That's a Hall of Fame nickname for me in Liga MX.
Yeah, it's a hell of a name.
Let's preview Chivas versus America then, because that San Luis result at the end of the day was pretty straightforward with what happened. Almost pulled it off, couldn't at the end of the day, ran out of steam. And so what do we get in return? We get one of the most exciting semifinal matchups that we have in Liga MX in a long time, with two of the biggest rivals in this league going against each other face to face. A heated rivalry that, as of lately, bro, has been ran. And I mean ran by America. I looked it up. In the past 5 matchups within the league, America has won 3 matches and tied 2, not a single loss. And these have been blowouts. These have been massive results. These have been games. I mean, this is a rivalry, folks. To be beaten that many times in a row, and it would be 6 if you counted a friendly they had a year ago. America has dominated Chivas for the past couple of years, I would say. So that's scary going in, man, because especially looking at the matchup they had throughout the regular season where they faced off, and I believe America won 4-2. I mean, the dominance was clear. The confidence that America had up to that point, beating a Chivas team that was playing very well going into that game and doing it in such a fashion where you saw Henry Martin celebrate by, quote-unquote, peeing on the goal line with one of his celebrations. That's how far this America dominance has gone in recent memory. And so to tell you that I am scared would be an understatement. To tell you that I am not worried would be a flat out lie. I am worried. I am scared. I am concerned with what is on the line here and what Chivas has to get past in order to win. And if I'm being honest, bro, I do think Chivas is the clear underdog going into this match.
I said at the beginning of this fixtures analysis that I only see one winner, and it's simple for me. It is America, but let me give a little explanation as to why I think that. America's offense, I think, is the best in the league. When you have a guy like Leo Suarez, ex-Valladolid winger, constantly attacking and penetrating, but not just penetrating, very effectively. He's incredibly good on the ball, but he's so quick. His handles are elite in this league. Leo Suarez is a full threat, and pretty much he's going to get either a goal or at least create a really deadly chance at least once per game, man. He's that good. And then on the other side, whether it's Cabecita Rodriguez, maybe they start Brian Rodriguez now, who obviously is an incredible talent for America. There's so much offensive threat on the other side as well. But for me, where they get really good is the midfield penetration from Diego Valdez and Fidalgo.
Ballers,
bro. In both ties and throughout this entire campaign, anytime they get the ball with space ahead of them, they go 30, 40 yards and nobody can touch them. Both players. Their midfield chance creation, I think, is the best in the league, and it's incredibly hard to stop. And then you still have Henry Martin, the best scorer right now in Mexico. I think that's a lot to take for any defense, and why I have America outscoring Chivas in this tie and ultimately going through. Their back line is good. If you have a good offense, I think they can be scored on, just as we saw Atlético San Luis put a couple goals past them. But do I rate Chivas' offense to really consistently go at this America defense? My answer is no. I think Atlético San Luis' offensive line is actually better than Chivas. Where Chivas obviously are a lot better is going to be their defensive line with Sepúlveda and Briseño, and then their midfield with Oso González, Beltrán, Guzmán. I think their midfield is so much better than Atlético's. So I think in that regard, defensively, they're going to be a lot better than Atlético San Luis. They're going to be able to keep it a lot tighter. But Chivas are going to have to dig real deep. They're going to have to dig really deep to go 2 games against this America side. So when I think about it like that, I really only see America winning this. But look, Chivas I know are going to have a lot of energy. They're going to have a lot of passion. And that first game is going to be in the Estadio Akron. If they can get a good result there, then who the hell knows what's going to happen in that second leg. But my prediction is going to be America going to the finals.
I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to listen.
Ignorance.
I feel like my father lecturing me on why I should go to college. Maybe I don't want to go, Dad. Maybe I don't want to go.
Yeah.
This is where I am, man. Here's where I am. Tactically, not even going to touch that because you are 110% right. America outclasses Chivas when it comes to tactics. When you look at a position per position battle, overall, they just have the better team. That's all I'll say about that. I won't add anything else there. I completely agree. Tactically, they have the advantage. So how does Chivas win a matchup where they might be a little underwhelming, where they might be of lesser quality? Well, you got to look elsewhere because in the beautiful sport of football, you don't just have to rely on tactical quality. Obviously, it is a safer thing to rely on, which is why you're going with America. Hey, look, I don't blame you. I really don't. But there's other elements, there's other facets such as emotion, energy that a team can present, and the duty of gods, brother.
Yeah.
And what a God ultimately wants when it comes to a footballing result. And how that result and how that want and need can oftentimes play puppeteer to what ends up happening. Man. I think Chivas, if they want any chance to win this matchup and to get past an opponent this good in America, aren't going to have to look across the field to each other, aren't going to have to look across to their coach, Stepanovic, and ask, hey, how do we pull this off? They're going to have to look up. They're going to have to look up, and they're going to have to gain that energy and that confidence from the people up above, whoever that might be, man. Whether it's Bofo Bautista, Ramon Morales, the ghost of Osvaldo Sanchez, whether it's Pulido, our last striker who brought us the trophy in 2017, whether it's Rodolfo Pizarro, whether it's Greek champion Matias Almeida watching from the stands, Chivas are going to have to look up. And I think if they do that, if they can find that force, if they can find that fight, if they can dig deep the way you said, if they can play the way they did defensively against Atlas, and if they can find offensive rhythm, if they can penetrate lines, if they can do amazing things on the counter, Chivas might tie this game. And we might push it to extra time. And we might push it to penalties. Then we'll win the fucking lottery then. I don't think Chivas blows out America. I don't think Chivas dominates America, but I do think they find a way to win this match. And I think that's a fair assessment on my side because I'm conceding how well America is, but I'm banking on Chivas having something of superior quality beyond what can be defined on a footballing podcast.
Yeah.
I think something special is in the works for this 3-seeded Chivas team. And I'm praying on my knees that I see it come to fruition.
This is crazy, man, because I can't deny any of your analysis. I can't.
It's a fair take.
It's a fair take.
Yeah, I'm not bullshitting.
There's no bullshit here. I completely get what you're saying, and if they do go through, it'll be because of that.
Yes, I do think so.
Yeah,
I do.
It would work.
It would work, and it would be valid.
And it'd be valid.
And they would end up being the better team.
Yeah,
if they end up doing that.
If they end up doing that, they would be the better team, and it would be deserved that they go to the final.
Yeah.
There'd be nothing bad about that. There'd be nothing wrong, critical. Like, America would just lose to Chivas, and I would get it. I would fully understand it. In that light, though, the fact that it is El Clasico, I think is going to elevate Chivas' performance. If they can do what they did against Atlas, this is America. This is it for them. Yeah. If they can do that, and especially since that first game is in Guadalajara, which I'm actually really happy that it is, if they can use everything that you said, whether it's a script or not, then I actually think it can be a really tight game.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say about Chivas, tactically, that I think they can actually help them beat America, is their ball retention. I think they can hold the ball longer than America, and I think they can pass the ball better. The chemistry of Guadalajara, I actually think, is a little bit higher than America's, because that's why Chivas are here. It's their chemistry. It's their movement off the ball. It's Alan Mozo and Isaac Brizuela working together to dominate an entire wing. If they can use their ball retention and keep the ball away from America, you nullify Diego Valdez and Fidalgo's influence on the game. You can do that. It'll give yourself a better chance. Now, the only problem is that you nullify one America player, well, then another America player will step up because they are so talented in pretty much every single position. So even a perfect Chivas plan, I think, is still going to keep it at a tight game. But they're going to have to do that, in my opinion, to beat America over 2 legs. It can be done. I'm going America.
Yeah, I'm scared of the idea of what if we leave Akron without a lead. If we leave it tied, that's very scary going into El Azteca with a tie. And going into El Azteca with a loss, I think that's doomsday for us, man. And not just that, I do wonder what the impact of this game will be on the players based off of what happens. Like, if Chivas ends up winning this matchup, I think it'll be massive for the players, for the fan base, for Paunovic. Like, the league as a whole will have a ripple effect if Chivas wins this game and wins this matchup. But if the opposite happens, man, I don't know, bro. I don't know. To know that America has our number like that. I mean, I stated the statistics earlier of how recently they've dominated us. To do it again and maybe get a blowout victory in one of those 2 legs, I feel like that would really hurt our psyche, man. And as a fan, I would hate for it to end like that. I want a tight game. And losing in a tight game to a tactically better America team is something I'd be overall proud of. I'd be okay with. I could accept that. But losing in blowout fashion, the way we kind of did during the regular season in that one-off game, that would hurt, bro. Yeah. That would hurt, especially at a stage this big, knowing we're 1 game away from the final. I think that might have a ripple effect as well. What it will be, I have no idea. But I think between the rivalry, between what we have with America and Chivas and what's at stake, Chivas, if they end up winning the tournament, would equal America in titles. If America goes through Chivas and ends up winning the final as well, they create a 2-title gap to double their lead in that 14-12 title race that would be held at that moment in time. So this is a massive game historically in terms of titles, in terms of legacy, and what's at stake. And that's why I'm so excited for it at the end of the day. It's a great product. Liga MX, the commissioner, whoever runs it, is looking at the product that they have on display right now and being like, bro, we have 2 rivalries in the semifinals. If it's scripted, then it's doing a great fucking job.
Absolutely, man. But you got me thinking, if Chivas do win this would be huge. This would be enormous, man, because it would just prove that spirit once again can prevail against even a more financially better or more talented type of squad. And, I've noticed it, I'd say, over the past couple of years, and every time Chivas do make the playoffs, I swear, man, the commentators yell a little louder when Chivas is scoring.
And you hate that.
I hate it. Because, little old Leon don't get any type of treatment like that.
Fuck them.
But just in general, I think the country as a whole is happier if Chivas is more successful. Yeah. And so, maybe Chivas can do it. And maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing, because Chivas in the final, the atmosphere and the vibes across the whole country, bro, and especially in Guadalajara, would be immaculate.
Yeah, it'd be crazy if it ended up being a rematch of 2017 Tigres Chivas.
I was thinking about that. I'd be really annoyed by that.
Yeah,
especially from a Tigres perspective. But that'd be crazy if it ends up being a rematch, because it could be.
On the other side of the bracket, like I mentioned earlier, awesome matchup with Monterrey facing off against Tigres as well. A Clasico Regio. These 2 teams will be facing off after interesting results in the quarterfinals for both teams, honestly.
Yeah.
Tigres, who, in my opinion, has generated some very debatable results that just ultimately, in my opinion, aren't super convincing, but enough to get by. And we saw it this past time around with how they were able to get a 4-1 result at home in that first leg against Toluca, but then got battered away from home 3-1 in the Nemesio Diaz. What was your takeaway from that? seeing Toluca nearly pulling off an incredible Liga MX comeback, but ultimately falling short due to Cordova's goofy header that went into the back of net and gave him that important singular goal that qualified them into the semifinals.
I'm just still overall not convinced, man. I wasn't convinced for Tigres going into these playoffs in general. I had Leon beating them in the semifinal in the CONCACAF Champions League. And I had Toluca beating them here. I genuinely did. They nearly pulled it off. But in my opinion, it was more so that Toluca lost this fixture rather than Tigres won it. Because let's go to that first leg in Monterrey, Nuevo León. Toluca crumbled for 30 minutes. Absolutely crumbled. A botched job from them in that first half. It was pathetic, honestly. They get a brilliant first goal, Toluca. That little underneath the wall free kick from Fernandez. Yes. Cheeky little goal. Toluca looking really good scoring that early goal. And then they completely nullify that with a really stupid lunge from Charlie Gonzalez. Penalty. Tigres used that energy, and Toluca looked lost after that penalty for the next 40 minutes, and they ended up conceding 2 more goals. Tigres get another goal, I think, in the second half, and it was a completely bottled job from Toluca, in my opinion, on the road. They just completely crumbled, man.
I think my takeaway from that match specifically, though, was I wish they hadn't conceded that 4th goal. Yeah. Keep it 3-1. That's a perfectly fine result in Liga MX, man.
Yeah.
But that 4th goal with Juan Pablo Vigón celebrating and dancing by him, and I was like, that, and because of the way it came about, it was so avoidable, bro. It's such an avoidable chance. He ends up scoring it, and it's 4-1. And I'm thinking, damn it, that makes things 10 times harder.
Oh, yeah. Because now you're forcing yourself to score 3 goals. 3 goals, man? 3 goals in any game against any opponents, never guaranteed. True, like, I always, 2 goals, I'm like, okay, that's doable. But 3's like, shit, it's right there. It's tough. 4 goals I always considered completely out of reach. But it was technically there. And what's crazy is that in that second leg, for a certain amount of time, they actually pulled it off.
They did it.
They scored 3 goals. 3-0. Toluca go through as a higher seed in that moment. And I was actually, first off, a little shocked because based off of the really bad mental performance in the first leg, I was like, there's no way they come back and just boost themselves to beat Tigres. But they did it. They actually pulled it off. They used that vibe and that energy of the Estadio Akron, and it worked. But what's crazy is that this was kind of our take of Toluca going into the playoffs, is that we don't know who to expect when it comes to Toluca in a playoff setting. And we literally saw the reason as to why we didn't trust them. A really bad first leg performance, a really good second leg performance, and in my opinion, they just got unlucky with what was a weird chance from Cordoba and getting a bizarre, like you said, goofy header. And at that point, Toluca just got really desperate and could not get that 4th goal. And I was just very disappointed overall in Toluca, man, because they had such a good season. Ultimately, our concerns ended up being correct because Toluca just can't figure out playoffs in Liga MX right now. They just can't figure it out.
Yeah, they're so bipolar, bro.
So bipolar. It's really, really bad.
To go 3-0 at home and dominate that match, yeah, in comparison to what happened in El Universitario, I think is just so untrustworthy, man.
Yeah.
So untrustworthy.
And then beyond that, this was a genuine takeaway that I had after the game because what's crazy is that I think it actually could help them. They need to hire a better therapist. I'm not kidding, bro. Like, you think about, like, Premier League teams, like, they actually have therapists, like, on board to, like, help them deal with the day-to-day, week-to-week type of stress that you go through as a footballer. Like... Toluca right now, I don't know who they have, but bro, they need to get a better psychologist, therapist, whoever it is, to just go through each player and be like, you're going to be fine. Yeah. You're going to be fine. You're the better team. Figure it out. God damn, dude.
That's an incredible take.
I'm so disappointed with them. I'm so disappointed. And Tigres ended up going through. I guess they deserved it because their first leg performance was good. I'm not going to take that away from them.
Dominating.
Once they knew that Toluca were down, they took advantage as much as they could. So props to them for that. But I honestly think they just got lucky going through. They faced what ended up being a bipolar Toluca side. If they had faced either Chivas, America, Monterrey, I don't think Tigres go through. Okay. I don't think they would have gone through. So, yeah, I think Tigres are a little lucky. But kind of as you said at the very beginning, they are experienced, right? They have players like Carioca coming off the bench. They have youthful players like Córdoba who knows how to manage a game in Liga MX. El Diente Lopez can put in some decent minutes. You still have Raifu who can be good at times, André Pierre Gignac is still a decent finisher. So there is talent in this squad. I'm just not convinced by it.
I get confused with them, bro, because they do, and you can't argue this, at least in the Liga MX context, they do enough to get by, man.
Yeah, they do.
Now they've played 3 playoff games in total, and they've gotten the result they needed at the end of the day for each one of those matchups. That part confuses me, man, because they're not super impressive, but whether it's experience, whether it's individual talent on the team, whatever it is, has been enough so far to get them to a Liga MX semifinal.
Yeah.
And they're now squared up against their local rivals, Monterrey, who got by defeating Santos 2-0 in the second leg after one of the most boring Liguilla games I've ever seen. A complete stalemate. More stale than 9-week-old bread. 0-0 at Santos Laguna Stadium. Comes over to Estadio BBVA, and we see Monterrey ultimately show their advantage in class and in quality with a couple of goals, and Maximiliano Mesa scoring a pretty good banger of a goal to make it 2-0 and close the game out.
Yeah, it was a banger for sure. Mesa's had a really good season as a lot of the Monterrey players, but this fixture, Monterrey against Santos Laguna, told me nothing. I learned nothing from this. And not only did I learn nothing, I didn't get anything back from it. No joy, no entertainment, man. Even the 2-0 win from Monterrey, pretty boring.
Yeah.
Like, this was easily the worst tie out of all the quarterfinals. The other ones were honestly so entertaining, whether it was through drama or just through actual technical ability and talent out on the pitch. But this Monterrey Santos, man, I honestly don't have much to say. I mean, in that first leg, 0-0, the pace was so slow. Neither team wanted to score what it looked like, and both teams were completely fine, which is going 0-0 to go back to Monterrey, for Monterrey just to win it at the end of the day. Santos were all right, but it was just such a difference compared to their frantic performance against Pachuca. And I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was really, really strange. Monterrey honestly looked like they didn't want to overexert themselves in that first leg. They're like, look, guys, we know we're better. Let's just get a tie here, go back home and finish the job there. And that's literally what they did. The second leg wasn't much different, in my opinion. Santos did as much as they could, but at the end of the day, they're really lacking in certain areas on the pitch. And Monterrey they're the best team in the campaign so far this season, and they just got a sound 2-0 win. But, I'm more so than anything else, I'm very curious to see how Monterrey perform now against local rivals Tigres.
Does it mean anything that they were the only team in the Liguilla to not concede a goal over 2 legs? Does that mean anything?
My only problem with that is I don't rate Santos' offense at all. Like, at all. Preciado's not it for me. Honestly, probably should look to replacing him. Emerson, while he is incredibly fast, he's a pace merchant. His final third output is non-existent, dude. He can dribble past 3 players, doesn't know what to do with it after that. So he's essentially ineffective.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I don't even know who it is right now. That's the thing. I don't know who the right winger is. And then their only good player, in my opinion, is Brunetta. But he needs players to feed, and he needs players to combine with for him to truly be effective out on that pitch. And so Santos' offense, I just don't rate it at all, man. So for Monterrey to get a clean sheet just makes sense compared to what they had to face against. So that's why I'm truly curious as to how Monterrey is now going to face what is a much better Tigres side in comparison to what they face in Santos.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Going into the play-in games, I hadn't seen a single minute of Santos Laguna football. Right? They're like in 13th place. After the play-in game and the playoff games, I was convinced Mateus Doria was their striker, bro.
Yeah, he's probably their best offensive player.
Center back, man. I was convinced he was a striker, dude.
Yes.
Or a goddamn winger at the very least, especially after the Pachuca match. And even in this game, the second leg of Monterrey, he scored what was at that point a goal. He scored a goal. He finished the opportunity off, ended up being offsides by a very close margin, but It was him who was at top in that desperate moment of need. And I thought he was their fucking guy up front the way I saw him play. And so that's a terrible sign. That's a terrible sign, bro. Man. Terrible sign. And so now we have Monterrey, number 1 seed, best team in the campaign, as you said, facing off against their rivals, Tigres. I'm going to predict here that you're going to go with Monterrey in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm going Monterrey for sure. And my reasoning is just because it goes back to my Tigres analysis. I just don't trust them. I'm not fully convinced. And even though Monterrey had a really easy outing against Santos, they're incredibly well-rounded from top to bottom. There is a reason why they are first place going into the Liga. They're just so consistent. And even though Tigres might have some X-factor talents, I think Monterrey are going to be able to cope with it at the end of the day. So over the course of 180 minutes of football, I have Monterrey beating Tigres. I don't think it'll be blowout fashion, but I just have them beating them. Whether it's just maybe it's like 2-2 at the end of the day and they just go through, or they end up winning 3-2, 4-2, something like that. I have Monterrey as the better side. So I don't think they'll do it in, like, again, blowout fashion. But yeah, I have Monterrey as my pick.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you here, but it's because of these reasons. I actually truly do value the fact that they haven't conceded a goal in the Liguilla so far. And this is why. Because think about it like this. You're at a bar, and you have that one guy who you offered to buy a shot for, and he says no. He declines it. That takes discipline. That takes mental strength to be able to deny a shot for free in a fucking bar. You keep hanging out with him for the rest of the night, 0 shots taken. Doesn't allow it. Doesn't want it. The discipline, the mental fortitude this man has, at the end of the day, whether the shot was cheap, whether the bar was fucking lame, a dive bar or some shit, at the end of the day, he goes home sober. I think that means something when you use that analogy for football, Liga MX and Monterrey versus Santos specifically. They went home over the course of 180 minutes. They went back home to their wives and to their family, knowing that they were disciplined in their approach to the game and that they didn't concede a single goal in the playoff matchup. Even though it's Santos, even though it's a meaningless friend of yours that was offering you to buy a shot, and it was easy to say no to them. Even then, you still denied the shot. And so for that reason, I have a lot of confidence in Monterrey because of what you just said, where they're so stout, top to bottom. They're good in every position. Maybe some aren't as impressive as others, but they're a very good team, and they've shown that for the whole season, man. Meanwhile, you have this erratic, this crazy Tigres side that is partying every fucking night, due to my analogy, and just going crazy, taking shots back and forth, but still finding a way to make it home.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, bro, I think I have Monterrey winning this matchup. I just think they'll have a more mature approach in this match. And I think that ultimately, even if they concede a goal or two, they're not going to falter. They know how to handle their alcohol, and they'll end up scoring 3, 4, maybe even 5 on this Tigres team, bro.
Yeah, no, I have nothing to add to that. That is exactly why I think Monterrey are going to beat Tigres. Just put perfectly. That is exactly why, man. They're just. I love that. They're more mature, in my opinion, and I think ultimately that's going to get them through.
Yeah, maturity, discipline, and overall confidence that I think is going to be shown in this matchup. Ultimately, leaving what I predict to be a Monterrey Chivas final, and you have a Monterrey America final.
Yes,
both finals that I think would be amazing to watch.
Yeah. Either way, I'm really excited because I know Monterrey will compete. 100% they get to the final. They're going to keep it tight. They're going to be a threat offensively. And they're just going to make it another classic Liga MX final. I know that. It's a guarantee when Monterrey make it to a final. And then whether it's America or Chivas, based on everything we've said about that tie, you can't go wrong with either side. If it's America, you know you're going to have a high-flying offense going against a really stout but also offensive Monterrey side. And if it's Chivas, then you know that they deserve to be there with players like Beltran, Oso Gonzalez, Brizuela, Alexis Vega. Then they can combine and play some really fun football. So it's going to be a hell of a final regardless of who it ends up being. But either way, and no analysis yet, but just quick prediction who I do think is going to be the winner. My winner is going to be on the America Chivas bracket. So if America go to the final, it'll be America. If Chivas go to the final, I actually have Chivas beating Monterrey. So yeah, that's my pick.
Fair.
America, since I have them going to the final.
Fair take. We already said it. I'm going with Chivas all the way on this one.
Yeah.
I've stated my reasons. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna defend myself on camera again. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going Chivas here, but I do want to discuss because we talked about what a title would mean for Chivas. We talked about what a title would mean for America. What would a title this year mean for Monterrey?
I think just overall consistency over the last pretty much decade, man. Even longer since they made those CONCACAF Champions League finals 4 years in a row between 2010 and 2014. Monterrey are here in the modern era of football in Liga MX. For them to just get another title somewhat relatively early in the 2020s here in 2023, it just is a sign of things to come. For Monterrey, just to even make another final, it's all right, well, Monterrey are a big club, man. Even though they're a little bit more north than most Mexican cities, man, Monterrey is such a well-run club. They constantly bring in really good talent, whether it's Mexican or South American, and they always build a really good team, man. And so for Monterrey to make a final, especially to win it again, I think they'll be that much closer to getting 10 titles. And yeah, they're just going to keep getting more, bro.
Yeah.
I don't see Monterrey really faltering. I don't have them winning title after title, but Monterrey will just stay relevant as far as the Liga MX landscape is concerned.
And on the other side, if Tigres ends up winning this title against these teams like Chivas, America, and Monterrey, if they end up lifting the trophy, is that a bad sign for Liga MX? Or is that just a sign of maybe we've been underestimating what this Tigres team is all about? If they end up just doing enough to the point where they end up winning a title, then maybe this team was way better than we thought and maybe has a bigger potential than what we always thought because their underwhelming side was still able to win a title. My mentality would change completely. I'd be like, oh shit, I read this team wrong the whole season. Their ability to win at the end of the day should have mattered more to me. And I was too concerned with the flaws in their overall play and what I consider red flags. At the end of the day, they're just winners and they're champions and they end up lifting another title.
I was going to say the exact same thing. My biggest takeaway would be I read this team wrong and I was too negative on them when I should have just looked at their overall potential to always win. But I truly, I'm being serious here, brother. I truly just don't even have them going to the final.
Okay.
I just don't.
Okay.
If León can beat them in a semifinals, Monterrey can beat them in a two-legged semifinal. And they will.
Thank you guys so much for watching. But before we go, a quick happy birthday to Producer Rudd, turning 31 years old. Producer Rudd, give us that thumb, bro. Producer Rudd back in the club. We're about to go get some pizza, man.
Hell yeah. Happy birthday, Producer.
Happy birthday, Producer Rudd. Make sure to drop a happy birthday, Producer Rudd, in the comments. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow, or rather, if you're watching this today, for the Real Madrid-Manchester City live stream. Can't wait to see you guys soon. Peace.